I'll quickly move on to my next topic, which is the Commercial Building Improvement Program. So, as I said, my role combines business and economic development with community development. So some people sort of look at that and go, well, how do they tie in? Well, they sort of do. The Commercial Building Improvement Program was more an economic development side. Basically, the program was initially designed to gather and promote irrelevant information of vacant commercial buildings that are available for rent or sale in the Shire. A list of all commercial building owners in the Shire was compiled in cooperation with our finance department, who are responsible each year for sending out the rates notices. And then a letter was sent out to all commercial building owners in the Shire, which I've got copies of here, which I'll pass around in a moment. The Regional Victoria Living Expo was held and showcased the opportunities available in regional Victoria. The Expo provided an excellent opportunity for us as a Shire to advertise and promote unoccupied buildings whose commercial building owners had completed and returned the paperwork prior to the event. And this generated interest for our local townships. Following the Expo, obviously we held our open day, and several commercial building owners who had completed the paperwork and sent it in had the opportunity to show their vacant commercial buildings to prospective tree changers looking to make the move to Matoa and start up a business. Additionally, several commercial building owners who completed the paperwork were put in touch with local progress associations and consultative groups from community organisations, some of whom began working with the commercial building owners on unoccupied shop fronts and putting in window displays and things like that, and special events and street precinct projects. An example is one of our buildings was recently demolished. We had the letter of approval from the commercial building owner who was based in Melbourne to shop his now vacant land around to community groups. And as such, now we're getting a community garden put in, which is being down the main street of Warrnambool and Scott Street, which is, well, as we all know, a lot of our towns are having a lot of change in the main street, I suppose, and actually having a new garden to be put in there has worked out well. And that's been negotiated through a peppercorn lease. So therefore it's a token amount. The community group provides their own insurance. They wrote a letter to the CEO to organise a waiving of the rates. Electricity is covered by the community group and things like that. So the commercial building owner basically has no costs at all for his now vacant land, and the Shire, or the town, actually gets a beautiful community garden. So the idea with the program, you know, has been such that we've got a great little database now, and vacant buildings, as we know. So yeah, councils may, sorry, I've lost my train of thought. Councils may decide to waive the rates for the commercial building owners who are deciding to provide their building of vacant land, which is zones CZ1 or CZ2 or industrial, to community groups on a peppercorn lease. The same community group may need to cover electricity, water, and provide details. So vacant commercial buildings provide opportunities for new businesses and can generate economic development in small townships. So if these buildings are occupied, even with something as simple as a window display, the building looks much more attractive to a potential new business owner. So we would basically also work with the business owner on putting something in the corner of the store saying, hey, look, this is a vacant building, it's available for you, and it does look a bit better with which community groups are splashed on a coat of paint. The goal also with the Commercial Building Improvement Program is having this database, we believe, would make it a little bit easier for us to talk to RDV in relation to funding, because we're looking at it as a whole. We want to fix up our streets, so therefore let's look at a grant potentially for paint or something like that we can then work with them. And we've got the database there to say, look, we're not just looking at one or two buildings. We've got, I think now, 47 buildings that I've got on my Commercial Building Improvement Program database. And again, if someone's looking to move to the town from Melbourne and they call up and say, hey, look, I'm a panel beater, I can then look through my database and say, well, I've got a building zoned industrial in Hopeton at the moment that's ready to go. Here's a contact person, or my way of doing it is more I contact the actual landowner or building owner and say, look, I've had someone express an interest, would you like me to pass on their details? So that way then we're not sort of going through any any minor legalities illegally. So that's how we've worked it out. I'll hand out, if you don't mind, I think I've got enough copies for everyone. I'll just hand out, if you just want to, Rob, if you just want to pass on this and take one and pass it along. You can see the initial letter that went out. Then you can see the follow-up letter that went out 6 months later, which is not much different to the first one. And then an example of a letter that was then sent out to a building owner. And then a copy of the basically completed registration forms that were sent back in. You can just grab one or two of these if you want to have a look at it and see how we set it up. But there was tick boxes basically that the community, that the building owner could send back in. I'd like my building made available for rent or purchase. I'd like my building made available for a pop-up store, which we happen to do in Hopetoun. We set up a pop-up store based on this in the Hopetoun pub. It ran for 3 months very successfully, but the reason we were able to help the Hopetoun Progress Association in setting up a pop-up store was because we had a list of database of what buildings were available in Hopetoun that a retail store could be set up in. So yeah, we've been happy with the success of the program so far. It's an ongoing project as well. As I said, every few months I contact the commercial building owners either via an email or a quick phone call and say, hey, is your building still available? What's the latest and the greatest and things like that. So from that, it also gives me as an economic development officer the way to sort of be a bit more of a conduit with the building owners and with the businesses in the Shire.